Welcome, everybody. You are taking part in the meeting of the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley for the week of April 27th, 2015. As you may already know, we are an eClub focused on innovation and education and entrepreneurship, and it's our goal to see what technology can serve in terms of the business of service. How can we make technology come to the aid of all of those who are not just in need, but who are trying to make a difference in different places? So today there are three of us from the club taking part in our recording. First I'll introduce our Rotary Foundation chairperson, Frank Trapicchio. Yay! All right. My name is Rushton Hurley. I'm the president of the eClub. And our speaker tonight is board member and webmaster, Mitty Chang. And Mitty Chang is going to talk about Rotaract. I could do kind of a little bit more introduction, but I'm sure that he's going to have those bases covered. So I will hand it over to you, Mitty.
Awesome. Thank you, President Rushton, for this amazing opportunity to present on a topic that I'm really passionate about, and that's Rotaract. So I want to tell you guys a little bit of background about myself. Prior to joining this Rotary eClub 4 months ago, I had been in the Rotary family for a decade. So that's 8 years of membership in Rotaract, and before that, 2 years of membership in Interact. At the age of 26 right now, I've already spent more than half of my life in the Rotary family, and it's given me just as much back as I give back to it. Some of my closest friends are friends I've met through Rotary. A lot of my business contacts are through Rotary. And when I'm not busy giving my time to Rotary, I run and operate a web design and marketing agency called Kendeavor. It's based out of Silicon Valley, and prior to Kendeavor, I was freelancing as a web designer for the past decade. My talk today, though, is about the Rotaract Journey. So this is something that I'm really passionate about, but I think you guys will find a little bit interesting as well. I'm going to go ahead and switch this over to the screen so you guys can go ahead and take a look. So the Rotaract Journey. So in order to come up with this journey, I need us to all kind of go on a journey through time in order to understand the history behind Rotaract. So indulge our imaginations right now and hop in our trusty time machine, the DeLorean. So we're going to cue our time machine sound effects right now. So vroom vroom shh, traveling through time right now. And the year is now 1905. It's the 23rd of February in downtown Chicago. Four men, Paul, Gustavus, Sylvester, and Hiram, are gathered in room 711 of the Unity building. It's on that day that the first Rotary meeting happened. The four businessmen came together to find a way to grow their own businesses, and they had no idea how quickly Rotary would grow and the massive movement it would eventually become. Now, let's fast forward to the year 1922. So, vroom, vroom, shh, going forward through time, 1922 now. It's the 19th of December in Sacramento, California. It's on this day that the first 2030 Club is chartered, sponsored by the Rotary Club of Sacramento. 2030 clubs became the earliest known predecessors to Rotaract. And at one point, as many as 125 2030 clubs were sponsored by California Rotary clubs. But the movement to get younger leaders involved was not isolated in California or the United States. In 1927, roundtable clubs were founded in Great Britain and Ireland. Membership was open to young men ages 18 to 40, and by 1935, more than 90 roundtable clubs existed. In November 1930, the first Apex clubs were formed in Geelong, Australia. Apex clubs grew rapidly, expanding to more than 20 clubs in just a few years. These clubs were sponsored by Rotary clubs and were open to professionals and students between the ages of 18 and 35. Similar Rotary Club-sponsored groups continue to spring up all around the globe. Orbis clubs in South Africa, Orbis clubs in South America, Rotaractors Club in South Africa, Paul Harris circles in Europe, and Quadrant clubs in the United States. These clubs eventually provided part of the base for the future growth of Rotaract. Again, moving through time in our machine, so vroom, vroom, shh. The year is 1962. We are now in Melbourne, Florida, where the first Interact Club was chartered at Melbourne High, pictured to the left. There, the Interact program was born. While Interact quickly became a success, at the time, Interact Club was only open to secondary school students. As Interactors began graduating from secondary schools, Rotarians quickly realized they needed a program to bridge the divide between Interact Club and Rotary Club. Rotarians also realized that they needed to give young leaders an outlet to harness the activism and energy that was prevalent in the 1960s. Fast forward into our time machine again, vroom, vroom, shh. The year is now 1968. It is the 13th of March in North Charlotte, North Carolina. President Johnson is the current sitting president of the United States. The Vietnam War and the Civil Rights Movement are both still going in full force. And it's on this day that the first Rotaract Club was officially born, with the Rotaract Club of the University of North Carolina being the first Rotaract Club chartered. Rotaract, which stands for Rotary in Action, was meant to be both a bridge between Interact and Rotary, but also an outlet for young leaders to do hands-on projects and make positive influences in their local communities. Fast forward to the present, vroom, vroom, shh. Okay, so that's the last time you guys are going to hear those weird time warping sound effects from me, I promise. So we're back to the present, 47 years after the first Rotaract Club was chartered. There are now more than 9,723 Rotaract clubs in about 170 countries, comprising over 207,000 members. And Rotaract clubs now vary all across the world and vary from university-based clubs, where membership is primarily drawn from a university or college, to community-based clubs, where membership is primarily drawn from local or working professionals. While all Rotaract clubs are sponsored by at least one Rotary club, Rotaract clubs operate independently. In a big picture look at Rotary structure, both locally and internationally though, Rotaract is dedicated a very small fraction of resources from Rotary, despite being a clear potential membership base for Rotary clubs to draw potential members from. So this is where you come into the picture. Whether or not you're a Rotarian or a guest, I want to share with you something called the Rotaract Journey. Some of you are going to recognize this cycle as a variation of the hero's journey, originally created by American scholar Joseph Campbell. This is adapted for our purposes, but can easily be applied to other organizations as well. The cycle begins, or the journey begins with step one, the everyday world. This is the world that every young leader from ages 18 through 30 lives in. The big commitments in life at this stage are often work and school. 20-something-year-olds might just be starting off their careers, or they might be just starting a family, or they might be traveling around the world. As technology advances, the everyday world becomes more cluttered with information and even more confusing. Going to college no longer guarantees you a job. Finding a career now more than ever means knowing how to get past an increasingly convoluted array of automated systems that completely filter out your resumes by keywords. The everyday world can be scary. The call to adventure, which is step 2 of this journey, can be the urge to develop one's career, or it can be to make a greater positive impact on the world through service. Perhaps it's seeing a post about Rotary on social media by a friend, or perhaps it's getting a personal invitation from a friend to attend a Rotaract or Rotary meeting. Sometimes, though, that call is refused. Maybe something came up with work, and maybe they decide they can't make the meeting or event anymore. Or perhaps they don't want to go by themselves, and their friend decided not to go. More than anything else, this stage is dominated by the unknown. Millennials today are wary of scams, pyramid schemes, and time sinks. We live in a world where community service isn't equated with success or developing your career, but rather the phrase free labor. This stage is often dominated by the many other obligations in life, as well as the countless other possibilities of what someone can do with their time. And that's where meeting the mentor comes along. Somewhere along the cycle, whether or not they know it or not, every Rotaractor comes across a mentor that they meet. For me, my first mentors in Rotary were the officers of my Interact Club when I was just joining Interact for the first time. I was at a high school of about 2,000 students, and Interact Club meetings would be at lunchtime in the largest auditorium room available. Our Interact Club had over 300 members. Imagine club leaders, young 15 and 16-year-old leaders, leading a room full of 300 plus high school students during lunch hour. That itself was and is an impressive feat. Over the years, I've met countless Rotarians who all played a role as a mentor in my Rotary life. Oftentimes, I wouldn't be aware at the moment who my mentors were until they had already given me some great support or opened doors for me that I wouldn't have imagined possible before. Crossing the threshold. This is going to your first Rotary-related event. This might be a Rotaract event or an Interact event or a Rotary event. This is an experience that exposes you into the Rotary world, where we're all brothers and sisters unified in service. The young leader at this stage probably doesn't realize that he or she has crossed into the Rotary world, and it's often at this point that the young leader either continues down the cycle or simply reverts back to the everyday world without experiencing the rest of the journey. For many, continuing to get past this stage requires finding a mentor to open more doors into Rotary for them. Our Rotaract journey, or Rotary journey, then continues on to tests, allies, and influences. It's during this part of the journey that the young leader gets further exposed to the Rotary world. They will encounter positive experiences, and they will also encounter negative experiences. It's at this point that the young leader is a blank slate when it comes to their experiences with the Rotary world. Having positive influences and mentors during this stage is critical to helping guide them forward in the journey, just like negative experiences can quickly send them back to everyday world. Our young leaders who reach the growth and development stage will already have had positive influences and experiences from the Rotary world that has shown them a value in Rotary. They are still easily influenced by negative experiences and can still be at a high risk of leaving the Rotary world without the proper support. Eventually, though, every leader meets an ordeal or the event in the Rotary world which solidifies their commitment to Rotary or can extinguish it. Some people, let me actually zoom out a little bit in case you can't see that, but some people might have this event as planning a major charity function, or attending a Rotary International Convention, or even an internal club crisis handled poorly by stakeholders. Young leaders who make it past this stage are often the longtime supporters of Rotaract and Rotary, and the regional leaders that you see who eventually become Rotarians. From there on, we have both the reward step and the return. The reward step can be the direct benefits of undergoing the ordeal. This might be anything from a job offer to new leadership skills and experiences, and the return is the aftermath that follows an ordeal. Sometimes the return is a positive experience and sometimes a negative experience, but more often it is a mix. This is a step where young leaders weigh out whether or not the reward was worth the trouble, the experience in the ordeal. This is a key part of the cycle where having a mentor to talk to can greatly help our young leader decide whether or not they want to return back to the Rotary world. in the next step, the transformation. Having gone through the Rotaract journey, every young leader changes for better or for worse. They are exposed to the Rotary world and now have a better understanding of its benefits and connections. And now we're at the last step, which is return with the elixir, or better known as the once you know step. At this point, the journey has been completed, and every piece of the journey, from the positive to negative experiences and the people the young leader encountered during the journey, are all taken into account and weighed out in the mind of the young leader. Now back in the everyday world, the young leader has to decide whether or not he or she thinks it's worth it to continue to return to the Rotary world in the future. Now, okay, if you've managed to stay with me to this point, you're one, amazing, but two, the fact that you're amazing enough is enough for me to issue a challenge. And that's the idea of every Rotaractor, every Rotarian. So let me explain that a little bit more. My dream is to see that Rotary embraces Rotaractors even more, and for every Rotarian to mentor at least one Rotaractor. That might even mean mentoring a young professional, and then simply having them join Rotaract afterwards, after you start mentoring them. The fourth stage of the Rotaract journey is ultimately you. And if you remember, going back to this cycle, that's meeting the mentor. You are the mentor that Rotaractors will one day meet. And that day is coming soon, and I think this is the year to make it happen. You don't have to be a Rotarian to be a mentor. Guests can also mentor young professionals, and guests can even mentor Rotaractors, and Rotaractors can also mentor other Rotaractors. For the past few years, Rotaractors on the West Coast of the United States have been collaborating to form annual West Coast conferences for Rotaract called the Big West Rotaract Conference. And I wanted to kind of display the definitions of leadership on this slide just so that we realize that leadership is influencing activities of an individual or group in efforts towards a goal achievement in a given situation. So the commonalities for these definitions are influencing and a common goal. I think that everyone can be a mentor, and everyone can help a Rotaractor get towards a common goal. Talking about Big West a little bit more, and this is our regional West Coast Rotaract collaboration. Last year, we had the first ever Rotaract President-elect training session, or Rotaract PETS, which was held for Rotaractors here on the West Coast in San Jose, California. These events are happening every year. Here are some of the dates of some of the upcoming regional Rotaract events that you can get involved with. The first one that's coming up locally is going to be the Big West Rotaract Institute, which is where the Rotaract President-elect training session will happen, as well as the Rotaract Governor-elect training session and Rotaract Board-elect training session. This happens July 17th to 19th in San Jose. And then the next big event is in October in Seattle, where we're having our 5th annual Rotaract conference for the West Coast. Now, if you're looking to mentor Rotaractors, those events are great opportunities for you to directly connect with them. But if you're looking to connect digitally, because we are an eClub, you can also collaborate at bigwestrotaract.org if you're open to the opportunity of connecting with the Rotaractor as a mentor. So more information can be found at bigwestrotaract.org. I want to end with this quote from the 1949 Rotary International Convention in New York, New York. If we train our youth properly, we need not have any fears as to the future of this world. Thank you everyone for your time. President Rushton, I return the floor to you. And I think you're still muted, Rushton, if you want to hop off mute.
All right, did you get the applause?
I did not.
Well, we can fix that. Wait, everyone?
Okay. Wow. Thank you.
Good man. Wonderful presentation, Mitty. Very, very cool stuff. This is an opportunity, I think, that Rotary is primed to take advantage of. I love the every Rotaractor, every Rotarian idea that you put forward as a challenge. I think our club is a particularly good club for making this kind of thing happen as well. I know I've got some, kind of follow-up questions, and I'm guessing member Frank Trapicchio has some as well, so I'll invite him to unmute and join us, on that conversation. I'll start with a question about the upcoming conferences. So, we have the Institute coming up in July here in San Jose, and then in October the program in Seattle. Now, are these new? Is this kind of a totally new thing for Rotaract to be doing?
It's a really great question. And so the short answer is yes, locally. So last year was the first year that we've had our Rotaract President training session, and that was here in San Jose. This is going to be the second year that we're having Rotaract Pets, but we've kind of expanded it to be a full-blown Big West Rotaract Institute, which covers 3 curriculum tracks now. So Pets for presidents, Gets for governors, and Bets for club officers. The Big West Rotaract Conference, on the other hand, this is going to be our 5th year doing it. So our first year was in Berkeley in, I think, 2010. We skipped a year somewhere, but this will be the 5th year, and next year it's also going to be in Arizona. I may have gotten the dates wrong. I think 2009 may have been the first one, but more information is available at bigwestrotaract.org. So this is the first time it's happening on the West Coast in terms of this scale of Rotaract collaboration. But other parts of the world are constantly doing their own thing. For example, in Australia, Rotaract does their own pets, and they've been running their own pets for a few years now. And there are other training events going on regionally, as well as in Europe and in India.
Very cool, very cool. Frank, do you have a question for Mitty?
Yes, but first I have a comment, and that is, Mitty, that was an awesome presentation.
Thanks, Frank.
It really is. Last year, being a Rotarian, I had the pleasure of bringing on board a young lady who UC Irvine graduate who accepted my invitation and went on to become the president of this newly community-based formed Rotaract Club. My question is, how can we inform and through information educate as many Rotarians as to the responsibility, the challenge, the opportunity to engage these young professionals who, without our invitation or support, may be lost opportunities for Rotary in general. Your presentation was awesome, and I'm wondering if that's a PowerPoint presentation or a program that could be shared, at least out in my district is your district now, but my former district in 5240 here in Kern County. I would be more than happy to take that and take it from club to club and share your program, your work, so as to inspire many of these Rotarians who may not even be familiar with the concept of Rotaract.
Awesome. Well, first of all, Frank, thank you for that offer. I mean, that's huge. You're basically saying you're willing to be a champion and ambassador to Rotaract out there, and that's exactly what we need. So we need more Rotarians such as yourself willing to step up, who are willing to mentor the youth and the young professionals, just like you mentored the young lady from UC Irvine. And to answer your question quickly, yes, I can send you a PDF version of the presentation. The presentation is actually done in Apple Keynote. I can always send you that as well. And I know that if you want to, you could also very easily send anyone the web address for our meeting. That's going to be posted online because this is a recorded session, so they can just watch the whole thing, of course, and comment in the comments where I'll be happy to interact with people. But ultimately, I think to get more people involved and get more Rotarians involved is going to require everyone to start talking about it, to word of mouth tell everyone, hey, have you heard of every Rotaractor or every Rotarian? I mean, it's a phrase that sticks pretty closely, and it's a concept that is very simple. The idea that every Rotarian mentors at least one Rotaractor. If we have 1.2 million Rotarians in the world, that should mean we have at least 1.2 million Rotaractors. Right now, we definitely have some work to do, but I'm pretty confident that with supporters like yourself, Frank, that we'll be able to make this happen. And an easy thing to do, especially for supporters who are already happy to help out, would be to attend some of these bigger regional collaborations for Rotaract. If you're on the West Coast or you're willing to travel to it, whether or not you're a Rotarian or Rotaractor, you're always welcome to attend our Big West Rotaract Institute as well as our conference every year. And that's your opportunity to connect with some Rotaractors and Rotaract leaders and really maybe become a mentor for some more Rotaractors. Or if you haven't had a connection with a Rotaractor yet, we are happy to make that introduction for you online. Just send us an email. Just go to bigwestrotaract.org and just pop us an email right there and let us know what you're looking for, and we'll be happy to connect.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, when I think about it, the kind of reach that we have as an eClub, we have friends from all over the world who kind of click in to see what's going on with our meetings and watch our programs. I'm thinking of all our buddies at the East Anglia eClub in England, and all the other folks who've been writing to say, hey, I really like your format. I like what we're seeing, and I think probably one thing we can do is take that presentation and convert it to a Google Slides presentation that is kind of available to anybody, so that it's just a click away. And Mitty, I'm happy to work with you to work on the pieces so that it's something that just anybody can deliver. I do think that all of our members watching in on this program, think very much in terms of what this means for our club, which is young, right? We're 3 months into being a Rotary club. And 15 of our 27 members are brand new Rotarians. So this is a part of who we are. We are people who mentor young people in order to become the leaders of our communities, not just in Rotary, but generally. If we want a better world, we don't sit around waiting for somebody to make it happen, right? We do it. And I think this is a heck of an opportunity for us. Mitty, I'll let you kind of finish off thoughts there, and then I'll finish up our recording.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for this opportunity to talk, Russian. I know that we have a busy schedule lined up for speakers, and it's awesome to be part of this eClub. Frank, thank you for your comments and for being here. Again, just want to reiterate, every Rotaractor, every Rotarian, very simple phrase. Hope that sticks. And check out bigwestrotaract.org, and feel free to leave a comment here in the comments below, and I will definitely be checking that out. Thank you.
Very, very cool. I think as our members will remember from last week, right? When Joanna Yeager, kind of interacted with people in the comments, that's a wonderful piece of how the club can work. So all of our members, make sure you do the I attended survey below. That's critical stuff right there, right? And then all of our guests, we want you to do the same thing. In putting in, in doing that survey and clicking, no, I'm a guest or a member of another Rotary club. You'll be putting in your email address, your club if you're a member of a club, and that generates an email that goes to you that you can then share with your club secretary so that you've made up a meeting, right? And we love to be able to just touch base with you and say, hey, thanks for coming. Everyone, please add a comment at the bottom. This is kind of the magic of using these kinds of technologies to share the energy that is out there for service, to make the world a better place, to just remember that our day-to-day stuff can really be overcome by that energy that comes from saying we're part of a group that makes the world better, that we look out for those in need, that we're not alone, and just trying to get from day to day to day. It's a better world than that, right? So with that, I'd like to thank Frank for joining in, and Mitty for your awesome presentation. I'm looking forward to to having lots of people chime in on what they think of this in our club page. We welcome everybody to join us at SiliconValleyRotary.com or RotaryMakeup.org. Either one will take you to us. And to join us every week for the kinds of things we share in terms of news of Rotary around the world, different things that are important to us here in Silicon Valley, and of course that extra opportunity to be inspired. And that, I hope, is a part of how you are feeling at the moment, and we look forward to seeing you next week. So thank you again for attending.